Faison Love is out of jail tonight from a misdemeanor assault charge. A surveillance camera, though, inside the airport captured the whole thing.
You know how some actors light up the screen with charm, grace, and likability? Well, not all of them carry that same energy off camera. While many fans assume their favorite stars are just as kind in real life, the truth can be far from it. From diva attitudes to on-set drama and shocking interviews, here are 20 black actors who were the biggest jerks in real life. 1. Terrence Howard.
We don't know why people do what they do, and we don't know what God has in store.
Terrence Howard started his career pretty strong with movies like Hustle and Flow and getting nominated for an Oscar. The guy can definitely act. He's got this intense way of delivering lines that makes you pay attention. But his personal life? That's where things get messy. Howard has been in and out of court more times than anyone would want to count. His relationships have been rocky, with several ex-partners filing restraining orders against him. There were assault charges too, though some got dropped along the way. The whole thing became a pattern that kept making headlines. What's wild about Howard is how he talks about math and science. He has these theories about mathematics being wrong and has given interviews where he explains his own version of how numbers work. It's definitely unique, and people either think he's a genius or completely off track. His role in Iron Man as James Rhodes was supposed to be a big break into the Marvel world. But then Robert Downey Jr. got a huge pay bump for the sequel, and Howard felt left behind. He didn't return for Iron Man 2, and Don Cheadle took over the role. Howard grew up in Cleveland and had a tough childhood. His father was in prison for most of his early years, which definitely shaped who he became. He's been married multiple times. Actually, he married his first wife twice, divorced her twice, then married someone else. The domestic violence allegations really hurt his reputation in Hollywood. Even though he continued getting roles, the constant legal drama made studios nervous about working with him. He's still acting, but not in the big blockbuster films he was doing before. 2. Faison Love.
This afternoon, Love is out of jail on bond. Now the actor who appeared in Elf and The Replacements is charged with misdemeanor assault.
Faison Love has been making people laugh since the 1990s. You probably know him from movies like Friday or The Replacements. He has this big personality that fills up a room, and his comedy style is pretty in your face. But Love got himself into some serious hot water when Bill Cosby's legal troubles came to light. While most people were distancing themselves from Cosby, Love went the opposite direction. He defended Cosby publicly and used some pretty offensive language while doing it. This didn't sit well with a lot of people. The guy has had run-ins with the law too. There have been assault charges over the years, and in 2025, he faced a felony case that got people talking again. It seems like whenever things quiet down around Love, something else pops up. Love started doing stand-up comedy in the 1980s and worked his way up through comedy clubs. He got his break in movies and TV shows, often playing the funny sidekick or the loud friend. His size and voice made him perfect for certain types of characters. What's interesting is how Love talks about the entertainment industry. He's been pretty vocal about how black comedians get treated differently and has called out what he sees as unfair practices. Some people agree with his points, while others think he's just making excuses. His comedy career has definitely taken hits because of the controversies. Some venues stopped booking him, and certain projects became off-limits. But he's still performing and doing shows, mainly for audiences who separate the art from the artist. 3. Anthony Anderson.
ABC show Blackish is under investigation for assault. A woman claims Anthony Anderson attacked her more than a year ago.
Anthony Anderson became a household name through shows like Blackish, where he played the lovable dad trying to navigate family life. He's also hosted game shows and done comedy specials. The guy seems pretty likable on screen. Behind the scenes, though, Anderson has dealt with some serious allegations. Over the years, multiple women have accused him of assault. These cases often didn't go to trial because of lack of evidence or other legal issues, but they kept popping up. Anderson has always denied these allegations, and his legal team worked hard to get charges dropped. The pattern was usually the same. Allegations would surface, get media attention, then quietly disappear from the headlines when cases were dismissed. He grew up in Los Angeles and went to Howard University, where he studied fine arts. Anderson actually wanted to be a dramatic actor at first, but comedy became his thing. He's got good timing and can deliver both jokes and serious moments pretty well. The assault allegations definitely cast a shadow over his career, even though he was never convicted of anything. Hollywood can be weird about this stuff. Sometimes they overlook things, other times they don't. Anderson was married to his high school sweetheart for decades, and they have kids together. He talks a lot about family values, which makes the allegations seem even more contradictory. 4. Cuba Gooding, Jr.
Oscar-winning actor Cuba Gooding Jr. facing new charges of misconduct and now surveillance surfacing.
Cuba Gooding Jr. had one of those magical Hollywood moments when he won an Oscar for Jerry Maguire. That "Show Me the Money" scene became iconic, and it looked like he was going to be a major star for years to come. But Gooding's career path got pretty bumpy. In 2012, he got arrested for pushing a bartender at a nightclub. It wasn't the most serious charge in the world, but it started a pattern of questionable behavior that kept making news. The bigger problem came with multiple allegations of inappropriate touching and behavior toward women. These weren't just one-off incidents. They kept happening, and eventually his reputation took a serious hit. Some cases went to court, others got settled quietly. Gooding grew up in the Bronx and moved to Los Angeles as a teenager. His father was a lead singer for The Main Ingredient, so music was in the family. Cuba actually started out doing breakdancing and small acting roles before landing bigger parts. After his Oscar win, Gooding made some questionable movie choices. He did films like Boat Trip and Daddy Day Camp that weren't exactly prestigious projects. People started wondering if he was taking any role that came his way. The allegations really hurt his ability to get work in major productions. Studios became nervous about hiring him, and his roles got smaller and smaller. He went from being an A-list actor to doing smaller independent films and direct-to-video projects. 5. Cat Williams.
Really? You coming after my kids now? 'Cause it was already a witch hunt. Now you want my babies? Yikes.
Cat Williams is one of those comedians who can make you laugh until your stomach hurts. His stand-up specials are legendary, and he's got this unique energy that's hard to match. But his personal life has been absolute chaos. Williams has been arrested more times than most people can count. There have been charges for assault, battery, and all kinds of other stuff. He's gotten into fights, had public meltdowns, and generally acted pretty unpredictably. One of the most talked about incidents was when he got into it with a teenager during a soccer game and ended up on the ground. The whole thing was caught on video and went viral. It was hard to watch because Williams looked completely out of control. His comedy career started in Cincinnati, where he was doing stand-up as a teenager. Williams has always been small in stature, but huge in personality. His comedy often focuses on social issues and relationships, and he's got a way of making serious topics funny. The legal troubles have definitely affected his career. Some venues won't book him anymore because they're worried about what might happen. Comedy Central and other networks have had to deal with his unpredictable behavior. Williams has talked openly about his struggles with mental health and substance abuse. He's been in and out of treatment programs and has tried to get his life together multiple times. The entertainment industry can be tough on people who are already struggling. 6. Gary Dourdan.
The star of one of America's most popular TV shows has been arrested on charges.
Gary Dourdan was riding high when CSI Crime Scene Investigation became a massive hit. He played Warwick Brown for 8 seasons, and the show made him pretty famous. He had that cool, mysterious vibe that worked perfect for the character. But Dourdan's real life was way messier than anything on the show. He got arrested for possession multiple times, and there were domestic violence charges too. One incident involved him allegedly breaking his girlfriend's nose, which was pretty serious. The issues seemed to be a recurring problem. Dourdan got caught with and other substances on different occasions. Each arrest made headlines and hurt his reputation more. His financial situation got really bad too. Despite making good money from CSI, Dourdan ended up filing for bankruptcy. He owed money all over the place and had to deal with creditors coming after him. Dourdan grew up in Philadelphia and got into acting through theater. He's actually a musician too and has released some music over the years. The guy has talent, but his personal problems kept getting in the way. After leaving CSI, Dourdan's career pretty much stalled out. The combination of legal troubles, issues, and financial problems made it hard for him to get decent roles. He's done some smaller projects since then, but nothing close to the success he had before. 7. Martin Lawrence.
Doesn't matter.
Oh, so you could have robbed a bank, mugged an old lady, said something about my mama?
Just chase me, smart mouth.
Martin Lawrence was huge in the 1990s. His TV show Martin was an appointment television, and movies like Bad Boys made him a legitimate movie star. The guy could do physical comedy, dramatic moments, and everything in between. But Lawrence went through some really rough patches. There was an incident where he brandished a firearm in public, which scared a lot of people. He seemed to be having some kind of breakdown, and it played out in public. The situation with his Martin co-star, Tisha Campbell. Martin made things worse. She filed a sexual harassment lawsuit against him, claiming he had created a hostile work environment on set. The whole thing got messy and ended up in court. Lawrence grew up in Maryland and started doing stand-up comedy as a teenager. He worked his way up through comedy clubs and eventually got his own TV show. Martin was groundbreaking because it showed black families in a different light than most sitcoms. The legal drama with Campbell Martin really hurt the show. She actually stopped showing up to tapings for a while, and they had to write around her absence. Eventually, the show ended, partly because of all the behind-the-scenes problems. Lawrence has been more stable in recent years. He has continued making movies and doing comedy, though he's not quite at the same level he was in the 1990s. The Bad Boys franchise has kept him relevant, and he seems to have worked through his earlier issues. 8. Isaiah Washington.
If you're going to be accused of something, you don't go on the Golden Globes and use the very word that you've been accused of using.
Isaiah Washington was doing really well on Grey Anatomy. He played Dr. Preston Burke and was part of the original cast that made the show a hit. His character was complex and interesting, and Washington seemed to be enjoying the success. Then everything fell apart because of what happened behind the scenes. Washington used homophobic slurs when referring to his castmate, Theodore Raymond Knight. This wasn't just a one-time thing. There were reports of ongoing verbal abuse and unprofessional behavior. The situation exploded when Washington repeated the slur at the Golden Globe Awards in 2007. He was trying to defend himself, but it just made everything worse. The whole thing was captured on camera and became a huge scandal. Washington grew up in Houston and studied acting at Howard University. He had been working steadily as an actor for years before landing the Grey's Anatomy role. He was actually known for being pretty professional before this incident. The show fired him after the Golden Globe incident, which basically ended his time on one of TV's biggest hits. Washington tried to apologize and make amends, but the damage was done. His reputation in Hollywood took a serious hit. Since then, Washington has done some smaller projects and independent films. He has also gotten involved in political causes and has tried to rebuild his image. But the Grey's Anatomy controversy still follows him around, and it's been hard to completely move past it. 9. Wesley Snipes.
Prosecutors had pressed for that maximum sentence of 3 years because Snipes did not file his taxes for 3 years.
Wesley Snipes was one of the biggest action stars of the 1990s. Movies like Blade and Demolition Man showed he could handle both martial arts scenes and dramatic acting. The Blade trilogy made him a lot of money and established him as a genuine movie star. But Snipes developed a reputation for being difficult to work with. During the filming of Blade Trinity, things got so bad that he allegedly tried to strangle the director. There were also reports that he would only communicate through Post-it notes and refused to cooperate with the production. The tax evasion case was even bigger news than his on-set behavior. Snipes owed millions of dollars in back taxes and got involved with some questionable tax protest groups. He ended up going to federal prison for 3 years. Snipes grew up in the Bronx and started studying martial arts as a kid. He went to the High School of Performing Arts and later studied at SUNY Purchase. The combination of acting training and martial arts skills made him perfect for action movies. The prison sentence basically killed his career momentum. By the time he got out, the movie landscape had changed, and younger actors had taken over the action genre. Snipes has done some projects since then, but nothing close to his earlier success. What's interesting is how Snipes handled the whole tax situation. He genuinely seemed to believe that the tax laws didn't apply to him, which showed how disconnected from reality he had become. The 3 years in prison probably gave him time to think about his choices. 10. R. Kelly.
Alleged victims of R. Kelly are speaking out for the first time since the CBS This Morning interview, where the singer defended himself against charges of abusing underage girls.
R. Kelly was called the king of R&B for good reason. Songs like I Believe I Can Fly and Ignition became classics, and his vocal abilities were undeniable. He could write, produce, and perform at the highest level. But Kelly's personal life was always surrounded by disturbing rumors and allegations. For years, there were whispers about inappropriate relationships with young women, but the music industry seemed to look the other way as long as he kept making hits. The legal troubles exploded in recent years. Kelly was convicted on multiple counts of abuse and received lengthy prison sentences. The evidence presented in court painted a picture of systematic abuse that went on for decades. Kelly grew up on the south side of Chicago in pretty rough circumstances. Music was his way out of poverty, and he showed incredible talent from a young age. But success and fame seemed to make his worst impulses even worse. The surviving R. Kelly documentary series really changed public perception. Survivors came forward with detailed accounts of abuse, and people could no longer ignore what had been happening. The music industry finally started distancing itself from Kelly. His conviction and imprisonment essentially ended one of the most successful R&B careers in history. Streaming services removed his music, radio stations stopped playing his songs, and his legacy became permanently tainted. It's a dramatic fall for someone who was once considered musical royalty. 11th, Monique.
Build up your resume, and that's what'll get the money. Then you build up your resume, and then they'll say, well, you know what, we see the resume, but we'll get them the next time. All right.
Monique won an Oscar for Precious and should have been on top of the world. She gave an incredible performance that had people crying in theaters. But instead of riding that wave to bigger roles, she ended up in a very public battle with Hollywood. The trouble started when Monique refused to do unpaid promotional work for Precious during award season. She felt like the studio was asking too much without proper compensation. This rubbed some important people the wrong way, and word got around that she was difficult to work with. Monique has never been shy about speaking her mind. She has called out what she sees as unfair treatment of black women in the entertainment industry. Whether you agree with her or not, she definitely doesn't hold back when she feels wronged. Her comedy career started in Baltimore, where she was doing stand-up in local clubs. The Parkers made her a TV star, and she was known for her bold, unapologetic humor. Monique has always been comfortable being the biggest personality in the room. The Oscar win should have opened doors, but instead, Monique says she got blacklisted. She has claimed that directors like Lee Daniels and Tyler Perry spread negative things about her, which hurt her chances of getting good roles. These days, Monique is still doing comedy and smaller acting projects. She has been pretty vocal about her experiences and hasn't backed down from her positions. Whether she was right or wrong, she definitely paid a price for standing her ground. 12th, Tyrese Gibson.
Don't take my baby. Oh, this is all I got.
Tyrese Gibson started as a singer before becoming an action star in the Fast and Furious movies. The guy can sing, act, and look good doing both, but his personal drama has sometimes overshadowed his professional work. Gibson has had some very public emotional breakdowns, especially during his custody battle over his daughter. He posted crying videos on social media and made statements that had people worried about his mental state. It was pretty uncomfortable to watch. His feuds with Fast and Furious co-star Dwayne Johnson became entertainment news for months. Gibson publicly complained about Johnson getting a spin-off movie and felt like it was messing up the franchise. The whole thing played out on Instagram for everyone to see. Gibson grew up in Los Angeles and got discovered through a Coca-Cola commercial where he was singing. His music career took off first with songs like Sweet Lady. Then he transitioned into acting with movies like Baby Boy. The custody battle with his ex-wife got really messy and expensive. Gibson claimed he couldn't afford the legal fees and asked fans for money, which seems strange for someone making millions from blockbuster movies. Despite all the drama, Gibson keeps getting work. The Fast and Furious franchise is too successful to let personal issues stop it, and his character Roman Pierce is popular with fans. He's learned to keep more of his personal business private these days. 13. Jussie Smollett.
And not just any two white guys. These guys recognized Smollett from Empire, and then they beat him up while shouting homophobic and racist slurs at him.
Jussie Smollett was doing great on Empire, playing Jamal Lyon and showing off his singing and acting skills. The show was a hit, and his character's storylines about being gay in a music industry family resonated with a lot of viewers. Then came the incident that changed everything. Smollett claimed he was attacked in Chicago by people who recognized him from the show. The story involved racial and homophobic slurs, and it seemed like a terrible hate crime. But the police investigation revealed something completely different. Evidence suggested that Smollett had paid two men to stage the attack. The whole thing unraveled pretty quickly, and suddenly Smollett was facing criminal charges instead of being a victim. Smollett grew up in a family of performers. His siblings are actors and singers too. He started as a child actor and worked his way up through various TV shows and movies before landing the Empire role. The trial was huge news, and Smollett was eventually convicted of lying to police. He was sentenced to jail time and community service, plus he had to pay restitution to the city of Chicago for the investigation costs. His career basically ended after the conviction. Empire wrote his character out of the show, and other projects became impossible to get. The whole situation became a cautionary tale about how quickly fame can disappear when trust gets broken. 14. Lakeith Stanfield.
It's easy to make that comparison because the thing that links them together is perhaps just my face.
Your face.
Lakeith Stanfield has been getting a lot of attention for his acting in movies like Get Out and Judas and the Black Messiah. He has this intense, unpredictable energy that makes him perfect for complex characters. Stanfield has been pretty open about his struggles with alcohol addiction. He has talked about how drinking affected his life and career and how he's working to get better. It's refreshing when actors are honest about their problems instead of pretending everything is perfect. There have been some social media controversies too. Stanfield has posted things that got people upset or confused, then later clarified or apologized. He seems to speak his mind without always thinking about how it might sound. Stanfield grew up in San Bernardino, California, and got into acting through local theater programs. He studied at the Los Angeles County High School for the Arts, which helped him develop his skills. His acting style is pretty unique. He brings this nervous energy to roles that makes characters feel unpredictable. Directors seem to love working with him because he's willing to take risks and try different approaches. The addiction issues could have derailed his career, but Stanfield has been working on getting sober and staying focused on his craft. He's been getting bigger and better roles, which suggests that Hollywood is willing to support his recovery. 15. Samuel Leroy Jackson.
I was going to play this addict in the movie, a crackhead, and I was like, well, shit, I've already done the research. I guess I know what's happening.
Samuel Jackson is one of those actors who can step into almost any role and instantly make a movie more memorable. Whether it's the cool-talking hitman in Pulp Fiction, the over-the-top action in Snakes on a Plane, or his legendary turn as Nick Fury in the Marvel movies, Jackson has done it all. Over the years, he's appeared in so many films that it's hard to keep track. He's easily one of the most recognizable faces in Hollywood. But his path to fame wasn't smooth, and at one point, his career almost came to a complete stop before it even really started. Before the big roles and red carpets, Jackson faced serious struggles with addiction. In his early acting days, especially during his time in New York theater, he was caught in a dangerous cycle of heavy drinking and use. He was talented enough to keep landing roles, but behind the scenes, his personal life was falling apart. His behavior and reliability began to suffer, and it reached a point where his family couldn't just stand by. They staged an intervention, urging him to enter rehab before he lost everything. Jackson has been open about that dark chapter, admitting that his addiction could have ended his career and even his life. Going through treatment changed him completely. He often says that getting sober gave him the focus and clarity he needed to truly dedicate himself to his craft. Born in Washington, D.C., and raised mostly in Chattanooga, Tennessee, by his grandmother, Jackson didn't fit the typical Hollywood success story. He wasn't a teen sensation or a rising star in his 20s. In fact, his breakthrough came in his mid-40s, a time when many actors worry their big moment has already passed. When Pulp Fiction hit in 1994, he was 46 years old, and the role skyrocketed him into superstardom almost overnight. Since then, Jackson has built a reputation as one of the most professional and hardworking actors in the business. He shows up prepared, delivers exactly what's needed, and keeps moving forward. His sobriety has lasted for decades, and he often shares his story to inspire others facing the same challenges. Today, he's not just admired for his talent, but also for his resilience, discipline, and the way he turned his life around when the odds were against him. 16. Kanye West.
Let's just make more money. But it's not about making more money. It's about keeping poor people poor and rich people rich.
Kanye West is mainly known for music, but he's done some acting and has always talked about getting into movies more. His personality and controversial statements have made him one of the most talked about celebrities of the past 2 decades. West has said some pretty shocking things over the years, including comments about slavery and various conspiracy theories. His behavior on social media and in interviews has been unpredictable, and he's lost business deals and partnerships because of his statements. The mental health aspect is something West has talked about openly. He's been diagnosed with bipolar disorder and has discussed how it affects his thinking and behavior. Some people think this explains his outbursts, while others feel it's not an excuse. West grew up in Chicago and started making beats as a teenager. His music career took off first, and he became one of the most successful hip-hop artists ever. But he's always had bigger ambitions beyond just music. His ventures into fashion and other businesses have been successful, but his political statements and social media posts keep causing problems. Companies have dropped him, and his net worth has fluctuated based on his latest controversy. West has appeared in some films and TV shows, but acting has never been his main focus. His unpredictable nature probably makes studios nervous about casting him in major roles. He's more valuable as a musician than an actor anyway. 17. Nick Cannon.
The actor, rapper, and television host fired by Viacom overnight following racial and anti-Semitic comments he made on his podcast.
Nick Cannon has been everywhere in entertainment, hosting shows, making music, acting, and producing. The guy is incredibly talented and has built a successful career across multiple platforms. His energy and charisma made him perfect for hosting gigs. But Cannon got into serious trouble when he made anti-Semitic comments on his podcast. The remarks were offensive and ignorant, and they cost him some major business relationships. Viacom-CBS dropped him temporarily, which was a big financial hit. Cannon did apologize and went through education about anti-Semitism to try to make things right. He met with Jewish leaders and seemed genuinely interested in learning from his mistakes. Not everyone accepted his apology, but he put in the effort. He started as a teenager doing stand-up comedy and got his break on Nickelodeon. Cannon worked his way up through various hosting gigs and eventually landed The Masked Singer, which became a huge hit. The controversy definitely hurt his reputation, but Cannon managed to keep most of his jobs after apologizing and educating himself. He's been more careful about his public statements since then. Cannon has also made headlines for having children with multiple women, which keeps him in the gossip news. But that's more about his personal choices than professional controversies. He seems to be a dedicated father to all his kids. 18. Foxy Brown.
Foxy Brown has bonded out of jail. She is charged with battery and resisting arrest with violence.
Foxy Brown was one of the hottest rappers in the late 1990s, with albums like Il Nene making her a star. She had this fierce attitude and incredible flow that made her stand out in a male-dominated industry. But Brown's temper has gotten her into trouble more times than anyone can count. She's been involved in physical fights, including one at a nail salon that made national news. The woman does not back down from confrontation. There have been multiple arrests over the years for various things: assault charges, probation violations, and disputes with neighbors. Brown seems to have a hard time staying out of legal trouble for extended periods. Brown grew up in Brooklyn and started rapping as a teenager. She got discovered by a producer who heard her freestyle, and her career took off pretty quickly. Her debut album was successful, and she became part of the hip-hop scene. The hearing loss issue was another major challenge for Brown. She had problems with her hearing that affected her ability to perform and record. This medical issue, combined with legal troubles, really slowed down her career. Despite all the drama, Brown still has loyal fans who appreciate her music and her unapologetic attitude. She has continued releasing music over the years, though not with the same commercial success she had in the beginning. 19. Chris Brown.
Singer Chris Brown has been arrested for assault with a deadly weapon following an hours-long standoff with police at his home in California.
Chris Brown was a teenage sensation when he released Run It and became one of the biggest pop stars in the world. The kid could sing, dance, and had that pretty boy look that made him popular with young fans everywhere. Everything changed in 2009 when Brown assaulted his then-girlfriend Rihanna before the Grammy Awards. The photos of Rihanna's injuries were shocking, and Brown's image went from teen heartthrob to domestic abuser almost overnight. Brown pleaded guilty to the assault charges and had to do community service and attend anger management classes. But the incident followed him for years, and many people never forgave him for what happened that night. He grew up in Virginia and was discovered as a young teenager. Brown's talent was obvious from the start. He could move like Michael Jackson and had a voice that could handle both ballads and up-tempo songs. The Rihanna incident wasn't his only legal trouble. Brown has been arrested for other things over the years, including assault charges and probation violations. It seems like he has trouble staying out of trouble completely. Despite everything, Brown has maintained a successful music career. His albums still sell well, and he has devoted fans who separate his personal life from his music. He has continued touring and releasing new material regularly. 20. Tracy Morgan.
And Tracy Morgan from the TV show 30 Rock is apologizing for some homophobic comments made during a nightclub appearance in Nashville.
Tracy Morgan made people laugh for years on Saturday Night Live and 30 Rock. His comedy style is pretty unique. He's got this childlike energy mixed with adult humor that works really well in the right setting. But Morgan got into trouble when he made homophobic remarks during stand-up performances. The comments were offensive and hurtful, especially coming from someone with such a big platform. People called him out pretty quickly. Morgan apologized for the remarks and seemed to genuinely understand why they were wrong. He met with LGBTQ+ groups and tried to educate himself about the impact of his words. Not every comedian would have put in that effort. He grew up in the Bronx and started doing stand-up as a way to deal with difficult circumstances at home. Comedy became his outlet, and his natural timing and personality made him good at it pretty quickly. The near-fatal car accident in 2014 changed Morgan's perspective on a lot of things. He almost died and had to relearn how to walk and talk. The experience seemed to make him more thoughtful about his words and actions. Since recovering from the accident, Morgan has been more selective about his projects and more careful about his public statements. He's still funny, but there's a different energy to his comedy now, maybe a little more mature and less reckless than before.